extremely important area, the fundamental principles, and this is something not just for the exams, beyond, right? When we are professionals, when we develop our job into a career, when we move up in the career, this has been basically the pencil of, or the 5 precepts of the CIMA professional, not just CIMA, anyone who's into management or accounting, either in the financial or management accounting sectors. 5 pillars of CIMA, or rather CIMA fundamental principles, are that important. And CIMA would be making you visit this area every now and then, right up through its journey, right, where they take you into the operation level, managerial level, and then finally to strategic, and then beyond, when you work as an intern or an apprenticeship for a period of maybe 2-3 years before you see GMA. This has been the fundamental, pivotal learning point in CIMA Code of Ethics. Okay, what are they? You know them: integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, and professional behaviour. So you could read through. Integrity is about, if I say, it's about being straightforward, right? Not to give wrong information, not to pass wrong information. Think that simple, right? You shall not take in incorrect information. You have to double check the information before you pass it. You have a duty to not to pass wrong information. You have a duty to not to accept incorrect information. That's integrity. So lots of checking, double checking is involved in integrity. So it's not about just being straightforward and honest, right? It has a deeper meaning than in CIMA questions. Objectivity is kind of being independent. Make your decisions without having any kind of fear or favor towards someone. Being in the middle of things, not being biased. That's objectivity. Professional competence and due care. Well, this is the hardest thing for a professional. You need to kind of continuously update and upgrade yourself. Confidentiality. Well, whatever information that we find about in a company, whatever the company gives us as per information, we have very, very limited freedoms in divulging or giving over that information to someone else. Professional behavior, how the public view us. Whatever the public perception about us, we have a duty to keep it up, right, in good state, without making our behavior affect our, the name of the profession. Okay, let's start one by one. Okay, what's integrity? Straightforward in all professional and business relationships. Don't think too much about it. Get to the second one. Reporting figures and statements. Make sure that you provide facts. How do you provide facts? You double check the facts. You ensure they are factual information. You don't just assume information. As a professional, you have a duty to double check the info that comes onto the table. You have a duty to check a report, whether it's coming from downstream or upstream. You have a duty to check before you accept the information. Just because you were given that information by your team leader or a department head does not mean that you should not check it. You must check information as to the veracity of the information. And whatever the information you provide has to be truthful. So it's pretty hard work, right? And yes, you have to act in a professional and consistent manner, accountability. But remember, the key thing in integrity is what? I shall not provide wrong information. I shall always double check the information that either comes to me or that goes out of me, right? In order to find out whether that information is correct. So whatever the statement I make with regard to information has to be the correct information. That is integrity. Take here, one in the shadows is probably the greatest sportsman ever, Muhammad Ali, earlier known as Cassius Clay. Now, he's been a hero long after his career of boxing was over. He played all his tournaments, his matches, his games in the most decent manner. He was an honest man, and yes, he was pretty much of a Yes, a straightforward personality. A 40-year career of integrity, right? He hasn't deceived anyone. He followed the systems. He took to his the principles, and he stood by it. When American, in the Vietnamese War, right, when he was ordered to join the U.S. Army, he said, no, I have nothing against the Vietnamese people, so I'm not going to carry a gun against them. He was sent to prison for it, but he was that kind of a man. And then Lance Armstrong, probably the most capable endurance athlete ever in the modern history. He won Tour de France, the most grueling cycle race in the world, multiple times, one after the other after the other. Many yellow jerseys, so many trophies, so many prizes. But then came the bad news that he, along with his coach, with his manager, with the medical team, he was systematically, carefully using anabolic steroids with the knowledge of his entire team, with the support of the entire team. So normally when a person takes anabolic steroids, that means a performance enhancement drugs, right? You do it alone, you do it secretly. But in the case of Lance Armstrong, it was a team effort to keep him fit for the next performance, next tournament or whatever, right? Next cycle race. So that is lying, right? Intentionally deceiving, the administrators or the supervisors or whoever, right? To hide facts. So that is not integrity. He was, basically removed from his profession as a professional cyclist. He had to return his money, return his yellow jerseys, return his trophies. So when you violate integrity, payment is high. Because when you're caught deceiving, when you're caught telling untruths, especially in sports or any other field, right, the punishment is very high. So what is integrity? Providing correct information, double checking the information, so being consistent with it, being accountable. Whatever you say, you should be responsible. That is integrity. Objectivity, what is it? Look up and down, look at the word bias. What's the meaning of bias? Unreasonably connected to someone, unreasonably having a prejudice either towards or against someone. So that means you're partial, right? You support you to one side. You're not in the middle. You're not independent. So when you make your decisions, you should be making decisions independently, meaning without fear or favor or bias towards anyone. So you make the right decision that way. And that is expected from a professional. When you are a professional, our duty, yes, there is one to the employee, but there's a higher duty to the profession that I am part and parcel of. My professional ethics I shall not violate. And one key professional ethic is objectivity, impartiality, freedom from conflicts of interest. That means whatever the clash that I may have with regard to my personal, the interests and the professional duties, I should either tell or get out. I should not hide it. And I should act fairly, right? I should not have bias. And I must be independent in my decision making. It's expected that the professional to be that. Take a look here. When you are a football coach with the red and the yellow in the hands, right? When you do a serious violation, it's a yellow. When you do it again, or a very serious one, it's a red. So for about 90 minutes, you're the king of the court, right? Both the teams need your respect, and you need to deserve the respect of the team and the people around it, right? You'll make hundreds of decisions in a football game, and you're supposed to make them honestly, correctly, as much as you can. Yes, of course, a referee may make errors, but the people would forgive him if it happens that he has made unbiased decisions. Right? Hard task, right? This is objectivity, independence, no prejudice, right? Making practical decisions. Okay, that's Kumara Dharmasena for you, Sri Lanka's umpire test level. So when an umpire makes a decision, the same, right? It's all right to make errors, one and all, but impartiality of the umpire should be felt, seen, believed by everybody around. Meaning what? The objectivity of it. So, not just sporting referees or umpires. This is the characteristic that's needed for every profession. Hard to keep, right? But you have to maintain that. Yeah. What's the difference between objectivity and integrity? Well, objectivity is, being practical, being independent in the decision making without, any push from any side. You make your independent decision. Integrity is a bit different, right? Integrity means you make the decision if it's a correct decision only. You only pass correct information. You only accept correct information. So, two different things, objectivity and integrity. You can't pick one over the other. You have to have both as a professional. Right? You need to have both as a professional. You have to maintain your independence as well as you have to maintain your integrity. It is that. Yeah, what's this? I'll come here by showing you this. Just imagine a Sri Lankan bus driver. You may have also been behind the wheel. I also been standing behind his wheel, always enjoying his driving skills, right? The CTB bus drivers, so it's magical skills, right? Very few meters are running, very few dials are working, right? The bus is rickety and the road is very dangerous with precipices on one side, right? Anything can happen when you are in a loaded bus, but how careful they have been, right? How strongly professional they have been in their technical skills, right? Unbelievable. With that kind of problematic, vehicle in their controls. They're not exactly the best vehicles, right? Just like the vehicle here, right? You can see the holes gone, nothing in the dashboard. So it's just pure reckoning and absolute skill. And we trust him, right? Professional competence is that. Okay, move to a doctor, right? A medical team in a hospital, not just the doctors, nurses, attendants, everyone, right? How much care they should be, having every nanosecond of the way, just like a bus driver. 1 second a miss could be lives gone, right? How alert they should be, how particularly specific they should be in what they do, how much patience, how much dedication, how much the perseverance with regard to the commitment to success they should be going for, day after day after day. And that's professional competence. You have to have reasonable care. You should have the knowledge. Competence should be diligent. You should be aware of the necessary things. And yes, you got to update yourself continuously. Right? That's professional competence and due care. Confidentiality, a pretty hard one, this one, right? You cannot divulge information, you cannot provide information about the company or your employer to another person or your client to another person. Whatever the client tell you, you can't tell someone else. Let's say when a lawyer goes to court representing a client, whatever the client tells him in this case shall never be told by a lawyer to anyone else. It's confidential until the death of the lawyer, right? That's why we say, right, when a professional dies, especially we used to say that when a lawyer dies, the coffin is too heavy, it seems. Why? Not just his body, the weight of the secrets he is carrying to his grave. A professional lawyer should be that. A professional, of any field has to be that. Have to maintain the confidentiality of the client. Of course, there are situations where that information can be given by a professional. Like what? First one, if it's permitted by the law, if law allows you to give information, confidential information you possess, you have, but according to law, it's possible to give information. Let's say, tax information, like, right? Yeah, you have a duty to inform income tax department. You can't violate it. Securities and Exchange Commission, right? Information, you're permitted to provide that information. right? And your professional body, that means either CIMA or ACC or any other body, excuse me, has the right to ask information about the company from you. So that's permitted by law. Second one is, you're working for a client, you're working for the an employer, and they are happy for you to give some information to outsiders. Yes, then if they are okay with it, it's fine, right? You can release information. That means information about the client says, okay, tell, all right, no problem. Information about the lawyer, the employer says, okay, release, then all right. Disclosure is required by law. What's the meaning of that? When there are various departments in a country, right? You have the customs, you have the Securities and Exchange Commission, you do have the stock exchange, you have various other government bodies that has the right to ask information about companies, right? So they have the right to get the information about the companies on relevant topics, relevant fields. Then a professional who is responsible to those fields has the duty to provide that information required by law. Yeah, fourth one is a tough call. It's up to you to decide. I know some information about the company. Do you have a professional duty or right to talk that information out? Something like if a company is doing something illegal, grossly unethical, right? You have the duty to, disclose it. Whistleblowing, professional duty, all right? You could go for what you call as a protected disclosure to the government, or you can go for, qualified disclosure to the media. That's your right. Of course, you should have the sufficient knowledge on it, right? Two people. One is Edward Snowden. The other one is Annie Machon. Right? Edward Snowden was, an official, high-ranking young official. He was just early 20s, working for the National Security Agency of USA, America's most secretive, the spy organization, intelligence organization. And when he found out that the things that his, organization does is grossly wrong and unethical, he left it. He ran away from NSA and told the world how bad NSA is. Right? Today he lives in Russia. He escaped from America because you can't tell these things and stay in America. And America is looking to catch him for treason. For treason, the maximum punishment is a death penalty. If ever America catches him, he will be automatically given a life sentence or the death penalty. But what he did was telling the world how bad NSA is. That's whistleblowing. That's his call, right, as a professional. Annie Machon was a similar kind of a personality, working for a British intelligence service called MI5. There again, she found out some horrible doings happening inside the MI5, which violates the people's rights, which violates the people's freedoms. So she came out of it and told everybody about it. Whistleblowing. So both of them, what did they do? They violated the code of confidentiality, right? Annie Machon had a case against her, but she won the case. I mean, USA is still waiting to catch Edward Snowden. Now, Annie Machon is a free person because Britain realized how correct she was in revealing the information. Whistleblowing is that. Okay? You have the right to disclose information at certain events that we learned earlier. Yeah. Competence and confidentiality. What's competence? Professional competence and due care. Confidentiality? Yes. To keep the information private, keep the information secure without letting it being given, right? Recently we've seen, in Derana, right, more than 3 million, the things have been compromised. So whoever the hackers, now they have access to that much of subscriptions, connections. So possibility of them hacking into those sites are pretty high. So Derana did not do their work well, right? So some of the confidential information about you may go into the wrong hands if you have subscribed for Derana TV. Doctor, how much of a competence professionally he should be having? Professional behavior. What is this? This is about how you behave and how the outside world think about it. That's professional behavior. Okay. This happened in 1970s. This was an infamous incident in the field of cricket. I tell you the story a little bit. You can see a video if you like, right? The batting team is New Zealand and the bowling team, see how they are trying to bowl it, was Australia. This was the last ball of the match. In order to win, New Zealand needed a 4. In order to prevent New Zealand from hitting the 4, what did Australia do? Well, they bowled, but they bowled in a way that was never done before. What is it? They bowled with a straight arm, but they bowled it along the ground. We call it underarm delivery. Normally when we bowl it over your arm, over the arm. But when you bowl it underneath, that's underarm, right? So when the ball went along the ground, there was nothing the New Zealand batter could do. Just block the ball. Australia won the match, New Zealand lost. So that's how the record stays even to date. Has been very, very bad behavior by Australia, right? Doing something unethical to win a match. At that time in the cricketing books, it said how to bowl. The cricket books of ICC only said when you bowl, you have to bowl with a straight arm. That's all, without bending the arm. But they never said, the cricketing books never said whether you have to limit your bowling only to over the shoulder or underarm. Our law was not clear on it. So it was that loophole Australia used, right, in order to win this game. Right? So what he was trying to do is underarm, illegal at that time. Illegal now, but not illegal then. Later, ICC decided to illegal underarm bowling. But when this happened in the 1979, I think, right, it was not illegal. It's an ugly thing to do, wrong thing to do, unethical thing to do. But yes, of course, not a legal thing to do. That's all about professional behavior. Following all the laws is not professional behavior. No. You have to follow the decorums, right? The conduct and attitudes that the society loves. The society will love your professional behavior, right? So if you just follow law, only you can't reach professional behavior. You have to be higher than that, right? That's about the professional behavior. Yeah. So what's professional behavior? Behavior that's considered acceptable to the general public. Whatever the code of ethics, whatever the behavior patterns that the society likes. That's professional behavior. You got a question? Take a look. Read it, please. Which statement describes the principle of objectivity? මොකද objectivity කියන්නේ? Being practical, නේ? Being independent, not being biased. So what's the answer? Following this principle, an accountant minimizes the risk of passing incorrect information. මොකද්ද? Passing incorrect information කියන්නේ? Not doing integrity. A is integrity, but what we need to find out is objectivity. Following this principle requires an accountant to keep their mind free from bias. Bias කියන්නේ. Following this principle requires an accountant to stay technically up to date කියන්නේ, professional competence and due කියන්නේ, not objectivity. Following this principle requires skepticism and close attention to detail when reviewing information. Double checking, what's that? It's about, integrity. So what's objectivity? Bias, ne? B is the answer. B is the answer. An accountant who refuses to take on work as they do not have any experience in that area can be said to be arguing what? Sorry, I don't have the experience, so I can't do it. That's great when you say that. Always accepting what you cannot do, right? Right? What he's arguing here? I don't have the experience. It's professional competence, no? Professional competence. Which three of the following allow accountants to demonstrate the professional quality of skepticism? What's the meaning of skepticism? Don't trust anything unless you double check them. That's integrity. So skepticism, vruttiyamaya sakaya, is connected to integrity. By keeping their mind free from distractions, by seeking supporting evidence before accepting information as accurate. Yes, I mean, I get evidence, I get a report from my senior manager, but I need evidence to back it up, just to make sure that the information is fully correct. So the manager will always provide me with the backup evidence, supporting evidence. So that is definitely skepticism. By investigating why information was given to him, yes, it's a good one, right? When someone gives me information inside a corporate setting, why was it given to me? What's my position? Am I the right person to look at this information? Yeah, C is good. By reviewing the work of a junior before accepting it as correct, not just junior, you have to review the work of a senior also. That is skepticism. Straightforward, honest at all times? Not really. So, what are the answers for skepticism? B, C, D. Ne? Supporting evidence before accepting information as true. Why information was given to me? Yes. Reviewing the work of a junior before accepting it as correct. Yeah. So, this is another thing when it comes to CIMA Code of Ethics, right? So, once we are done with the CIMA Code of Ethics, is it over? I mean, when we carry on with our day-to-day work, right, you know, our tasks, our roles, our challenges, jobs change a lot. Situations, experiences change. So how do I kind of look at it in a CIMA way and update and upgrade myself? Take a look at it. Define. Identify what you need to do. Identify the challenge in hand. Assess. Can I do this with my current capacities, current capabilities, current skills? Design. Come up with the system to get the skill. Act. Okay, do it now. You improved your skills. Check now. Did you do it correct? If so, fine. Otherwise, change it. Evaluate. Right? Think whether you can do it better. Imagine myself as a teacher, right? Let's say I'm teaching a new batch of student. Okay, it's a completely new batch of students. I have never met them before, so myself being an okay teacher before does not mean I can be okay with this batch, because these are completely new teams, right? New guys, right? So, but first thing what I should do is what? Okay, I should check the students, who they are, what their study background is, what kind of learning patterns and learning skills they have. How should I approach them teaching? I can't all teach all the batches in one way. I have to change. Otherwise, it won't work for me, right? I'll be kicked out. So I have to define the challenge of the batch. So I may take a week, two, to read the batch. I'll give them writing. I'll talk to them. I'll, have a bit of fun with them, right? Just to get to know who they are, what they are. And then assess, all right, this is how I'm going to catch the batch. This is the way I'm going to teach them. I'll be giving more writing or maybe less writing. I'll be showing them more pictures or less pictures. I'll be giving them more theory or maybe less theory. I'll be teaching them on the board, or I'm just asking them to find out themselves. I'll be asking more questions, less questions. So different batches, different approaches. Not just me, every teacher, right? Then I come up with a solid solution. After looking at all that, design. Okay, my lesson plans. Every batch I have to change my lesson plans. I have to change my lesson strategy. Doesn't work. What worked for the previous batch doesn't work for this batch. Not at all. So I have to design it. Then carry it out to see whether it's working. It works always 50-60%, right? There are always problems in our teaching plans. Because if the students don't get it, I'm the one who's not right, not the students. Right? Students are always correct. I have to reach out to the student, reflecting, and then evaluating myself, figuring how can I do it better. Every CIMA professional, forget CIMA, every professional in business has to do this. Identify the problem and think about all the factors connected to it, assess, come up with a solution, design, do it, act, see whether it worked perfect, good, reflect, or if not, improve on it, evaluate it. Okay. Alright, CIMA members' duty regarding Code of Ethics. That's a lot. CIMA Code of Ethics you can find online. You can download it. Take a good look at it. It's a lot of reading, but it's worth that reading, right? Because you may not be holding on to Sri Lanka. You might be moving out to other countries also, right? So you need to be ready, to be having a global recognition into your hand. It's not just passing exams. It's a case of picking up on the competences and the skills, and that doesn't come just by passing exams. So we need to go beyond the syllabus content, do your own things, do your own readings. There are quite a number of CIMA forums in LinkedIn and other social media. Interact with them, local and outside the country as well. Improve on it, because at the end of the day, being a professional is a really lonely job, because when you make decisions, there's no one to supervise your work every day. Maybe at the end of the year they may supervise it, but not every day. So it's a must that the professional gets to know what he needs to know, how he should need to know, especially how part. Okay, so CIMA members' duty regarding CIMA Code of Ethics. Yeah. Okay, see, root the code in the values, trust, integrity. Okay, if you are working in a company, give CIMA Code of Ethics to others also. You should do that. So when some wrongs are happening, how can employees inform those wrongs confidentially, right? Some kind of a hotline we have to create. When employees see the wrongs, employees should be given the right to report on them. Ethics training, right? We have to check, monitor the effectiveness of our ethics, right? So there's a lot of work when it comes to a CIMA professional, when it comes to implementation of ethics through the CIMA Code of Ethics by a CIMA professional at a workplace. Okay, that's it. Catch you later.